Every day, we get news about the health effects of extreme weather, like heat waves, floods, droughts, and violent storms. But we hear a lot less about the effect on mental health. 48% of Americans today believe their mental health is currently affected by climate change. They're right. Climate change can have short and long-term effects on mental health. Heat waves contribute to violence and suicides, and people who take psychiatric meds need to watch their heat exposure. Trauma from natural disasters starts with the immediate stresses of lost homes, pets, and physical injuries. Over months, financial problems and social disconnection can contribute to depression, PTSD, alcohol and substance use, irritability, insomnia, and even domestic violence and child abuse. Slower-moving weather events like droughts or coastal erosion have impacts that contribute to long-term chronic stress, including high levels of anxiety and depression. Children, older adults, the chronically ill, migrants, and refugees are even more vulnerable than most of us. So how can the negative psychological effects of climate change be reduced? There are a lot of solutions, but one is to build psychological resilience, which is bolstered through social support and connection.
How do you define climate anxiety?
The understanding that things are changing really rapidly around me right now, and I don't necessarily have full control over what happens to me or what my future looks like.
Today, Layla is one of thousands of young people around the country taking on climate change and fighting back against the adults in power, who they say knowingly polluted the earth.
21 young people ages 11 to 22 are suing the federal government
over policies they say are destroying their world.
Lawsuits have been filed around the world from plaintiffs as young as 8 years old. And while many of them get tossed, for the first time in history, a youth-led climate change lawsuit is going to trial.
It's an immense relief. I'm wary of looking at this as a turning point, but I think this time it's different.
Dr. Lisa Van Susteren, a forensic psychiatrist, conducts evaluations in order to testify that the kids have been harmed by climate change as a result of the government's actions.
What we are doing to children is beyond the imagination, I think, of most people. What we are doing to children is beyond the imagination.
Too bad, said the stink bug.
At the Adams Morgan Community Center in Washington, D.C. recently, parents and their tiny tots sat patiently, riveted by a storybook and its reader.
He shuffled into Bear's room. Wake up, Bear, mumbled Mole. Spring is here.
What we are doing to children.
This is Drag Queen Story Hour. It's your classic children's reading program with a twist. The day's literary leader is a larger-than-life drag queen.
Everybody wave to each other, make a friend next to you, okay?
Domingo, who goes by JJ Vera when not in drag, has been performing drag at local DC bars and theaters for more than 3 years.
It's just really been obvious that there was a need for this in our community.
The library partnered with the DC chapter of Drag Queen Story Hour to bring the family-friendly events to the nation's capital.
We talk a lot in children's literature about stories being both windows and mirrors. So Drag Queen Story Hour can be doing both. There may be a kid here who is seeing themselves reflected in a queen and seeing a possibility for what their lives could be.
What we are doing to children.
The chapter also hosts drag queen fashion design and makeup workshops for older kids. The point, Amy said, is to create safe spaces for anyone interested in participating.
LGBTQ kids often don't see themselves reflected in the broader culture, so it can be life-changing and even life-saving to have that kind of affirming programming in their libraries and schools.
It's called eco-anxiety or climate anxiety.
Eco-anxiety has been defined by the American Psychological Association as the chronic fear of environmental doom. Climate-aware therapy is part of this growing movement of mental health professionals who are focused on addressing the climate crisis, how it's showing up in people's lives. You know, there's a lot of interventions from regular therapy that are being used and adapted to climate-aware therapy, a lot about helping people manage difficult emotions, emotional regulation, deal with regulating a hypervigilant nervous system.
This is not a pathology. It is a healthy response to what is happening to our world, to the destruction of our world. A couple of things: eco-anxiety, eco-grief. Some people are calling it eco-distress because it isn't just one feeling, anxiety. And it, but it's the feelings associated with it: helplessness, uncertainty, despair, those kinds of things.
Here's what a climate action plan might look like. If you're in a flood zone, consider using personal storage bins that are watertight, or moving personal items to a higher level on the shelf. For more info on finding out if you live in a flood zone, check out the description below. Those concerned about drought might want to learn more about urban gardening or drought-resistant forms of agriculture that you can do at home. Now, above all, find yourself a community that is preparing to deal with the next catastrophic event, because global warming is happening. Take action and join in on the effort.
The anxiety about being infected, the anxiety about being infected, the anxiety about being infected.
My full drag name is Desmond Is Amazing. I feel very happy to have a mom that accepts me.
It really touches me deeply that there are other children out there that he's reaching and they're listening to him and he's influencing them to be themselves.
I'm very proud of him. I'm proud that he's found his path so early.
My greatest joy in this is just seeing Desmond happy.
I love doing drag because it makes me feel amazing and self-expressive.
What we are doing to children.
Desmond, you're one of the youngest and first drag queen/kids, and I've heard
What we are doing to children is beyond the imagination, I think, of most people.
Hi there, guys. This is Dan Dix here reporting for Press for Truth with breaking news. I just got out of the BC Supreme Court and the Court of Appeals for the final decision in a case that I've been following for almost 5 years now. And viewers of this channel are probably already well aware of the BC father whose daughter, when she was in grade 7, was shown a video by her teachers featuring a transgender character. And she started thinking, I also want to cut my hair short. I also want to identify as a boy, just like the character in that video. The teachers entertained this. They allowed her to change her name. They allowed her to change her pronouns. They suggested she go get some counseling, and the counselor suggested she go talk to a doctor. The doctor suggested she starts transitioning. All of this happened unbeknownst to this father. So obviously he's royally upset. The courts ended up saying he's not allowed to misgender his daughter. He's not allowed to use the incorrect pronouns. He can't use her so-called dead name. And he's not allowed to talk to the press about any of this. A so-called gag order was placed on this. Now, obviously, with this being insanely tyrannical, he didn't do any of these things, ended up spending 69 days in jail for that, and he was also facing a fine of upwards of $30,000. Well, today, ladies and gentlemen, the judge just decided that he has won his case. He won his appeal. No more fines, no more jail time. That's it. That's the end of it. This is such good news. This is a huge step in the right direction for justice and sanity. And it just goes to show, when you stand up like this man did against the trans activists who are taking up the BC courts and the lawyers and the judges, we can have a victory. So I just spoke with him a couple hours ago before he was supposed to turn himself into the sheriff's office. And then he had the decision was made. He's just won the thing. So he's going to be getting out any moment now. I'll do a follow-up interview to bring you this good news from the man himself. So stay tuned for that, guys. Just wanted to give you that quick update. But you can chalk one up today for the good guys.